What's going on, everybody? So just a little insight. Once in a while, I like to do a little bit of writing. I'll start off by writing something that everybody knows, and then I'll let it snowball from there, and I'll let it create new ideas. And sometimes they're too good to keep from you. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I wrote the other day. But I started by mentioning that gold was worth $35.80 in 1970. At that time, it was enough to buy a nice suit. If you held on to an ounce of gold and in 2023 you converted that into cash, you'd still be able to buy a very nice suit. However, if you held that $35.80 in 1970 in cash, there's a good likelihood that you wouldn't even be able to buy a tie, let alone a suit. So, considering that, I am not telling you to buy gold. What I'm telling you is that you should consider hunting out an asset. I'll give you a couple of different examples. In 1970, there was a car that was made by Ford. It was the Boss 429. They made a limited edition number of these. Something like 1,300 or 1,200 of them. Somebody will correct me. However, some of those with very low mileage are driving through the block right now at auction and selling for nearly $500,000. I'll give you another one, for example. A 1967 Yanko Camaro did something like $620,000. It had very low miles, I think like 4,800 on it, and had an original window sticker, so on and so forth. The original window sticker on that vehicle was like $49.95 and I think 5 cents or something like that. It had that on the window sticker. All right. Now, considering these things, those people purchased those vehicles with the intention of investing because they had that little mileage on them. So, considering that those are just two examples from 1970 that were great investments and translated even better than gold did. All right. So if you consider that, did it really? It would have been close. I think gold appreciated just a little bit better. But with that being said, that's an example of something that appreciated better than cash money. All right. Now, if you're curious on what I do with my money and my paper, I think in the world we live in, we have to hunt out an asset that's relatable to today's day and age. Right now, we have a huge problem with paper solutions. And I was actually talking to a friend the other day about how I was taking my money out of a brokerage so I could invest in this new technology. And I told him the problem is I have to wait for the brokerage to clear my money to be able to do it. Suggesting there was a big problem with paper transactions. I'm going to give you an example of a paper transaction. I heard it the other day, and it was a great example. Email came out in what? I couldn't tell you. As early as I could remember in the 90s, there was something that exists, like 93, 94, I really understood what an email was. So I'm guessing it's somewhere over there. That effectively made the post office useless because there was privatized companies that existed, like UPS, FedEx, DHL, and I'm sure there's 100 other companies out there that compete privately, including smaller mom and pop type businesses. Don't get me wrong. This is nothing against my post office friends, but the only thing that's keeping it alive is the post office. Is the government. Would the problem being paper transactions take people moving the paper around itself and there actually being a physical transaction? Is the problem with the way our finance system works? You see, everything in this world is competitive, it's quick, faster, more availability, more access to, makes it more convenient for everybody on a world stage to be able to compete. So with my paper, what I've decided to do is invest in cryptocurrencies and CBDCs. I think through that is a solution for the paper transactions. And remember, I was saying instant transactions. I was mentioning to my friend that I was waiting for my money to be able to invest in the opportunity to invest in a couple new CBDCs. And since I had said that to him, I started thinking to myself, I was like, listen, man, I'm waiting for this money to come through. And that's the problem with me not being able to instantly invest in this other shit. And this other shit that I'm investing in is the solution to that problem. So just in such a simple way of explaining to you how efficient that technology is. It takes 5 to 10 seconds to transfer any amount anywhere around the world. With that being said as well, the scale that it needs to operate on for there always to be availability of coins on exchanges and other things that institutions can reach to, that number is going to have to be high. Also, too, people consider, oh, well, there would have to be this much so-and-so to get to this super high number. This is a liquidity token. You see, the way that I see it is the United States dollar isn't going to go anywhere, but the liquidity that moves back and forth around the world, because gathering cash all the time doesn't really work. And since we're not really the champion of the stage anymore, we just don't have the strength. And trust me, there's no bigger patriot than I am, but we just don't have the strength on the stage anymore. And with there being a solution to the paper problems that exist, I don't see it too much longer that the way that we traditionally did things in the past still exists. Now, you might want to call them cryptocurrencies. I call them CBDCs. The ones I invested in, and this isn't financial advice, I'm just telling you what I did, is XRP. I actually have to use it when I'm transferring to my cold wallet. I have to understand the technology, the smart messaging with it, which I have capability of using. The network is quick. I've never spent too much time like biting my nails waiting for it to come over. So what my point is this is the solution for the problem that exists. There's so much pushback out there as well for things like these CBDCs that will be able to create transparency. So when a government can just create as much as they want instantly, and we don't really have an option but to hold their cash, we're screwed. We go down with our government. See what I mean? But if you have the ability to hop out at an instant, not even move yourself, I think that you put yourself in a better position overall. I feel like this has all been pretty long-winded. I know that I'm going to have the hate inside these comments. But I think that tokenization on the assets that we trade on Wall Street is the future. And it's going to cut out commissions and a bunch of other things that makes it unaffordable for people from less fortunate areas. It'll keep them, from being able to access. But with tokenization, anybody can do it. So when our influence actually influences the market, like I had talked about in the previous video, so if we have any type of movement into one asset that we all agree on and we hop into it, the tokenization is going to reflect a real-life, real-time change in the market, because there's going to be no failures to delivers. There will be no issuing out shares that don't exist. When they run out, they run out. So it's pretty awesome how that works. Well, I think maybe I touched enough bases tonight. I am kind of disappointed for the future of the United States. I am kind of excited for my own future because I've done a lot of other things. This isn't my only investment, but I've done a lot of other things to protect myself. So I just gave you a bunny. I think you could protect yourself as well. But remember, with everything that you hear, with a grain of salt. Have a good week. I don't know if I'll be able to do this again. Later, y'all.